everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone around the world. I'm Paul Sisler, and this is In the Moment. And today we have the segment The Flow with Shadow Fox, an artisan of the spirit. Shadow Fox, how are you doing today?
I am actually doing awesome. I'm really excited. It's just a wonderful, wonderful day, and I'm just so blessed to be here. So,
All
yeah.
right. All right.
How are
Now,
you?
I am awesome. I am awesome. This is a show that I've been just waiting for. We are going to have Kato on the show today, and we're going to be talking about natal charts. Now, this is a two-part series because before we go into the actual natal charts, we're actually going to do a back history with Kato so everybody can understand more about her. And then we're going to talk about how all three of us met and how this all plays into the synchronicity of the charts, which next week we will go over the charts.
Yeah.
Are
Yeah,
you
and I
excited?
think Paul, I think it's very important. We're gonna be bringing this up and even how we all met. This is like
Yes.
what you were saying. It really is because in our own diverse and passionate ways, we've each stepped onto a path and we're all doing this together. I really think
Yeah.
this is phenomenal. Hmm.
Right. Oh, it is. It is. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to play a video that's going to kind of introduce who Kato is. So I want everyone to watch this video. It's a short little video. It's two
Yeah,
minutes long.
just 1 second for anyone that is in the Twitter spaces. This is being broadcast live on YouTube. So if you're in the space, you can listen here or you can actually tune in and therefore watch it. So right now we're just creating the space so that you get whoever can listen to. Okay.
All
Uh,
right. Here we go. I'm going to start up Lost in Paradise.
Lost in Paradise, my digital diary of self discovery, a solo journey that has taken me to the most unexpected places, meeting super fascinating people, and having such crazy but rewarding experiences. It all started when I moved to the south of Thailand to a small village called Prasang, where home was a garage. Yes, a garage. Quite different to my life back in London. I worked as an English teacher. My life was simple. It was the start of my minimalist mindset, consuming experiences rather than accumulating things. I continued solo backpacking, leaving a trail of all my material possessions behind, staying in new hostels, meeting new people, trying new things. When I returned, I had a better understanding of myself, the world out there. I'd experienced things that really, really changed me. But I was still really lost. I then started working in PR in the luxury world of super yachts, the antithesis to my life in Asia, which I can appreciate, but it didn't fulfill me deep down on a personal level. Which takes me to my most recent trip, which was done out of crisis and spontaneously to the USA, which ended up ending abruptly because I had to leave. I had no choice. Long story. As you can probably tell, I have been in this situation many times where I come back in a full circle and I just don't know what to do. It took me 5 months to find a job that I thought was perfect at the time. And after pretty much getting fired, I realized it wasn't and decided, instead of waiting for the stars to align, to create my own constellation. Public speaking, performing, life coaching, journaling, teaching are all areas I keep being drawn back to that make me feel alive. And I finally found a perfect outlet for them: podcasts. My journey hasn't ended here. I'm simply opening up the doors for you to join. So this is for the kindred spirits out there that I met on my journey, the misfits, the nomads, those lost on their own journey. I hope that this podcast can bring you some value, if not from my stories, maybe from my guests, or maybe just to make you laugh. Anyways, hope you enjoy. Bye.
That was excellent. That was excellent. And let us meet that fabulous person. Kato, hello.
Hello, Paul J. Sizzler the second and Shadow Fox. What an honor to be here with you guys today.
It is an
Oh,
honor to have you here.
yes, yes. The honor is all ours. Oh my goodness, I tell you. And our last conversation, I learned so much. I'm looking so forward to this new journey that I'm going on with you and Shadow Fox.
Me too. I'm so happy to meet you guys and grow with you guys, you know, like the way we met. Even just with the video you just played, it's like a past version of myself, you know, and kind of seeing it come back, which is the exact journey that I'm going back into, because it was called Lost in Paradise, but I guess now it's evolving into Found in Paradise, you know, with a higher level of consciousness, understanding about oneself. So
Yes.
You
So
know,
now,
I just have to make a quick mention here, okay? This part was not planned. If you look at all of us, look what we're wearing. We have the same color. You got to show your tie, Paul. Like, yeah,
yes.
come on, there you go. I mean, come on. We got, and it's just talking about the synchronicities, right? I mean, I love it. It was so funny because Paul and I had started earlier before you came in, and we're like, I wonder what Kato's gonna wear. And I said, she's gonna wear. And he goes, yeah, she's gonna wear a red or a burgundy. And I said, mm-hmm. And there we are. Yep.
So Kato, please tell us a little about where you were born. Tell us a little bit about Thailand University. I believe you mentioned Kingston, and that you backpacked across Southeast Asia. So kind of give us a little rundown. That's basically what we saw in the video. So let us know who you are.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. So, with my name, Kato is my evolved American name. The actual pronunciation is Kato. And it comes from former Yugoslavia. That's where my roots are, although I was born and raised in London and lived there for university most of my life. And I like Kato a lot because when I was teaching in China, they found it really difficult to say my name, Katarina. So my students, I thought, you know what, let me give them my childhood nickname, Kato. And when you look at the ka, it's kind of like macabre, the Hebrew word where the ka represents the spirit, you know, so there's something there. And then I did have a student tell me there's many different dialects in China that Kato in her dialect in that particular region meant sweet sister. So it's really nice to see how like the nickname like has evolved. And then when I started Twitter Spaces, it was Kato by all the Americans, and I find it so endearing and sweet, and I love it. It's kind of become a joke, like "Oh Kato," you know, "Oh Kato, Kato." So I love how you guys say it. And so, yes, I was born and raised in London. I did media and business at Kingston University. After I graduated, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I thought about getting into teaching. And at the time, my reference from my drama teacher, she didn't do it on time for me, like to go into doing a master's for actually like education. And at the time, I remember walking home from my like first ever like office job at the time, which was in real estate, just like administration, and crying, like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I really don't enjoy this job. I'm not going to be able to do teaching. I didn't get my reference on time. But then I thought about it and I was like, okay, calm down. What can you do with what you have now? Okay. So I searched online and I found the TEFL course, which is teaching English as a foreign language. And I, did the whole course and saved up my money to go and begin teaching in Thailand. That was a really fantastic experience. It was very unexpected. I had to live in a garage for a few months. So this was something that was really interesting because it wasn't expected. But the school I was supposed to work in, there was all this paperwork issues. So they moved us to a village in Prasang, it's called, in the south of Thailand, a few hours away from the hub Surat Thani. And in that period, it was amazing because although it was really difficult, we didn't have hot water, we didn't have a shower, we had hose, no bed, just a mattress like what you saw in the video and stuff. it was really amazing to see the happiness of the children in the village, how happy and fulfilled
Uh-huh.
people were that were living there and really enjoying the little things in life. And, you know, the kids, every Friday, they would do meditation for an hour. And it just like really, yeah, it was amazing. Like it was just a really fantastic experience. It was challenging, but it was
Uh-huh.
really character building. And, you know, I got to see that perspective. And then I had my big backpack and I solo traveled. That was really amazing. I was, you know, for a solo female traveler, I passed through everything really great. Like, thank goodness I didn't have any issues. I made so many amazing friends. I started like opening up about my astrology birth chart, seeing certain things interlinking with my experience that kind of affirmed that I was on the right track. And then after that, once my traveling was over, I started working in like the luxury corporate field. And that was really interesting because I would be working with like ultra high network individuals and seeing these people with so much money and actually how unhappy they were with having all of every single thing they wanted. So it was amazing to see like the different perspectives. And I think my life has always kind of been like that, like growing up in London, being a foreigner, parents from former Yugoslavia, like never really feeling like always seeing different sides of the spectrum. So that's just a little bit about that history. And then I did live nomadically for a while, like most of my 20s. And
Mm-hmm.
the USA was one place. So
Well, you know, I think that is, I mean, look at all the experiences that you have had that bring, you know, just the learning aspect, the experience of, you know, traveling solo. You know, this is something, I mean, these are the things that we're all going to bring together. Okay. I'm seriously, it is truly I really, I'm like in awe. But I would like to say something very quickly because this is where I kind of like to tie this together just very briefly. When you were speaking about your name, and my daughter, um, the one who, Ayla, she transitioned about 5 years ago, but her sacred name is Sweet Thunder. And I know that she must have pulled a whole bunch of strings for you and I to get together. And with your name actually meaning like sweet sister, and yet I see you and I feel that resonance of like you being a daughter to me. And so for her and you would be a sister, sweet thunder. I'm like, you know, these are some of the synchronicities that I really, it's like just amazing. And that's a story in and of itself of how we truly, you know, came to speak and get to know each other. And I do know it was my daughter pulling strings. So
Excellent. Excellent. Now, I ask questions because I always have a point that I want to drive to. Now, when you traveled across Southeast Asia, were you able to do that because you were independently wealthy, or did you have to rely on the hospitality of others?
So I saved up before. When I had that corporate job, I knew at some point within then that I was going to go to Thailand to teach. And I really like put my head down,
mm-hmm.
I saved my money. And
Yeah.
like, for example, the accommodation was very, very cheap. I still have all my journals, so that's something really cool about my whole journey. I have documented in journals, and I have videos, and I sometimes flick through them, and it's funny to see like my budgeting and stuff, you know. So when I was traveling, you know, I stayed in hostels. So I would be with like 7 or 8 other people in bunk
Mm-hmm.
beds in a room. It was very, very minimalist, fully relying on like my own savings. And, you know, it's something that for me personally, and my dad talks about this a lot, and I really appreciate it. He says, the thing that he loves about how I am is I always wanted to do things for myself. because it was the most rewarding when I'd save up money. And
Mhm.
the whole Southeast Asia trip, and like even now, like I am like really quite a minimalist. When I look at how I've spent my money, it's
Mhm.
always been on experiences because they've always been more
Yeah.
rewarding to me than
Yes.
things,
Yes.
you know.
Yes.
Oh my
Yes.
goodness. Yeah.
Now, I take it there was a lot of hospitality also, though.
People were amazing. It depends every single place that you go to. When I was in the garage, for instance, like the village that I came into, the first day that I went, there was a funeral. And I thought it was really interesting because I was immediately invited with the other teachers to attend the funeral. I said, oh, I don't know, you know, but the whole aspect of how they view death, for instance, is
Yes.
very different. It was a
Right.
celebration, you
Yes.
know?
Yep.
So it was amazing for me to go and like have my mind, my consciousness expanded just on these experiences. And people were very hospitable. You know, they'd say, come back, come here, the food, the join in with this activity. That was really beautiful.
Yes. And I wanted to point out the hospitality because that's one of the things that we kind of lack in this country right now with a lot of people is the
Mhm.
hospitality towards others. There's more hostility towards others. Because the other thing that I made note of is you talked about how with how little that people have over in these other countries and
Yeah.
yet how happy they were,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know. So I think that plays a
Yep.
part in the United States on if people
Yep.
weren't so focused on having, and started focusing more on experiencing, I think that people in this country would become less hostile and more hospitable.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
And I really saw that with the complete contrast of working with like the luxury corporate world and seeing how unhappy people were. And they would have all this money and but there's so
Yes,
much hate because the inner world is so much more important. And you know,
Yes.
Taoism was a philosophy that I really dug into when I was traveling, and I love Taoism. I remember you said, Paul, as well. You're very like have studied this philosophy because
yes,
Laozi, when he says, translated into English, that the more someone is impoverished spiritually, the more they seek outside. But
correct.
you have to have this view where you're looking from the outside of your life and what are these things going to mean to you when you're older, you know, and just being in this village in Thailand where they didn't have much money and just seeing the joy of the kids, the you know,
Yeah.
excitement of the food, the singing, the
Mhm.
dancing, like the value of the tiniest things was just
Mhm.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Yes,
And you know, and I do think that it really serves a purpose. Like if people do get a chance to travel and experience, you know, the different culture, the different land, the different, it really adds to your tool house. It really does.
Absolutely.
yes, absolutely, absolutely. I'm kind of
Oh,
breaking up a little bit. My stepson's downloading a video, and every once in a while, it kind of breaks up for me a little. I apologize if it causes any side effects here.
For me,
Uh,
it's perfect.
yeah, we're good over here.
Clear as day.
It's just you, Paul.
okay, yeah. I wonder if this. Let me shut my space down. I wonder if that might be affecting it. Yeah, but no, there's a lot of the things that we've talked about in relation to when it comes to spirituality and how we relate to other people. Prior to me becoming a part of the writing community and the spiritual community and all of that, I kind of thought that people just simply made their own path. And what I'm finding
Mm,
out is that, kindness has an effect on people. If you're kind, it'll bring kindness. If you have hostility, it brings hostility. Um, Anger and hatred breed more anger and hatred, and these are things that I knew, but I thought it was more of a personal thing versus a spiritual thing. And what I'm finding is that everything in the universe has an effect on you. And when a lot of people, they might think, well, Paul, that's just nonsense. That's nonsense. The moon controls the tide on this planet. Now, if the moon can control the tide on this planet, it controls all the water on here, on, you know, the how when it goes in and out and all of this. And if the moon can have an effect on our planet, that little tiny moon can have an effect on our planet in such a strong way, then why can't everything else have an effect on everything else in some way? So when you start talking, because you've discussed my chart with me and all that, I was like, oh my God, that describes me to a T. Oh my God, that describes me to a T. And then I start looking at a lot of other people and I start realizing that everything has an effect. So if everything has an effect, I need to start affecting people with love and kindness. So hopefully that can manifest into more love and kindness.
Yeah. You know, this is that part of, you know, when you were speaking about, you know, the energy of the moon being, you know, even affecting us. And it was it was really the synchronicities. And these are something where I kind of like the conversation to go a little bit, because the synchronicities are truly, I just think are very important, that people can learn to recognize when synchronicities really show up in our lives. And I mean, Kato and I, we were speaking on the phone, and it was what was it? Full. It was right. Was it the first day of the full moon? I
Yes,
believe.
correct.
And because Kato is on the other side of the pond, I mean, which side, left, right, her time frame is ahead of where we are. I'm in New York, in the US, and it was like, I was speaking about what I was going to do for a ceremony. She goes, oh my gosh, I'm doing a ceremony too. And the thing was, none of this was like, we did not say, hey, let's get together. And it just was a collaboration. But intuitively, you felt it, you knew what you were going to do. I intuitively felt it, I knew what I was going to do. And we spoke about it and was like, oh, all right, so you're ahead of me. When you're doing your ceremony, I'll tune in. And when I'm doing mine, you'll be lolling off to sleep. And this will be really, you know. So the point is that these are some of the synchronicities that we are just in tune to, that we are just bringing forward, and there's really no conversation about it until afterwards or right during it, right? Wouldn't you agree? So this is how the planets, right? The planets, in essence, really kind of influence us, or impact us, and impulse us.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, when we look at it from like a macrocosmic to a microcosmic, as
Yes.
above, so below, everything going on above is taking place within us. And I love the subject of astrology. I consider myself a natal chart astrologer. When we talk about these synchronicities, they're so divinely connected. And for instance, like meeting Shadow Fox, meeting Paul J. Sizzler II, for instance, like we met on Twitter Spaces. I've had the honor of connecting with you guys. And we're in the age of Aquarius now, and age of Aquarius is all about expansion of consciousness, technology, you know, our individual selves, how it's impacting society, and to be able to connect on Twitter Spaces with people that I really feel connected with. Shadow Fox has been such an amazing teacher, mentor, not a guru. Lead doesn't allow that word. You know, guide. And Paul, I've had the honor of having you come into my space and sharing your wisdom, sharing your experiences, sharing all of the beauty that you wish to put into the world and the kindness. I mean, it's incredibly synchronistic. And with Ayla, Shadow Fox's daughter, she's born 1992, the same as me. She's a Pisces. I'm a Virgo sun. We're opposite signs. I mean, I have had goosebumps in spaces about 3 times. And the first
even
time.
similar heritage, and even similar heritage from her
Yes,
father's side.
yes.
It's
So
like
interesting.
there were so many things that were very, very similar. So it was like, how could, she definitely had hand in it. And, the one thing I'd like to bring forward, okay, is because even how Paul and I met. And this is the part, because when we get to those natal charts, and it was so funny, and I'm going to be honest with everybody here, because I talked to Kay, I says, listen, maybe we can just, point out what some of the two, the highlights are simply, or let's bring in the differences and see how they can join, because Paul had asked, for his natal chart, and I knew you were going to do mine, and I was like, whoa, that's going to be a lot. And I'm like, well, let's just see, because Paul and I truly have many, many things that are running in parallel motions. And I had given the metaphor, like driving in a car, right? You have the right side wheel, you have the left side wheel. I'm leaving the track, Paul's leaving a track, and we're still going in the same direction, but I have my path, which might be on the right side, and his is on the left side. Sorry, Paul, I'll give you the driver's seat. Okay, no, just come on, let's have
It's the driver's seat in my country, though, you see.
Oh, see,
Yeah.
so there you
Yeah,
bring
right
in the
on the
perfect
left side.
balance, right?
Doesn't matter who's driving.
But this is where I think that, because Paul can tell, if he chooses to, because I'm not going to speak for Paul, but he can definitely bring in his perception of what brought he and I together, because it was he and I, and then it was you, and then I brought you in with Paul. And so it's like, here we have this beautiful, beautiful 3 aspect. And I will say that when I'm speaking under the guidance of law, and when you take a look at the age of Aquarius, that really is the law of understanding that is coming forward. So you're describing it in one precise way, and I'm stating it in another, and yet Paul is sitting there saying, I got this, let's go, and let's put this together. And so I think this is really like how all 3 of us had this interplay with each other, and this is, I think, pretty cool.
See, I think energy plays a huge part in things.
Yeah.
I want to take this back, because when my wife and I were in Vegas, I basically started having my midlife crisis. Okay, it's like 20 years in the casino industry. What have I got to show for it? What am I going to do? And I decided to go back to school. Okay, now when I went back to school, I took a philosophy class, and this is where my biggest transition came to play: philosophy. We were talking about Rene Descartes, the mind-body problem.
Yep.
All right. The body and the mind are 2 separate things. You have the spirit, you have the body, and when the body goes, the spirit goes to heaven. Then you have the materialist, who believes that the mind and body are just the same thing, and when one dies, they both die. It all dies. That's it. It's done.
Mm-hmm.
I started writing a book called Impetuism, the study of energy.
Mm-hmm.
And I throw in the laws of thermodynamics, because energy cannot be created nor destroyed. It only changes form. And the mind-body problem doesn't address this. So in my mind, I have solved the mind-body problem, because energy cannot be created nor destroyed. It changes form. And the electrical energy that is the human thinking part of us is a separate energy from the body that we use, the vessel, to get us around and, feed, nourish, all these things. And when the body dies, it becomes carbon and goes back. And when we die, we transform and become something else. Now, what we become after that, that's a whole nother theory. I've read books like Siddhartha, reincarnation, new levels of thinking. So that kind of opened me up. Now, through this journey of things that I went through by going back to school, it caused other things to happen in my life. I was in an accident, severe spinal injuries, survived that, moved to Northern California. My wife and I wanted a place where we could retire and basically sit back and relax, which then led me to hearing a really bad person say that there's very fine people on both sides, which inspired me then to write my own book. Okay. So I then wrote my own book. And then when the book was being published, I was told that you need to get on social media, Paul. You need to get a Twitter account. You need to get a Facebook account. You need to be on YouTube making videos. And I'm just like, oh, hell no. And they're like, oh, yeah, that's what you need to do. So someone who wasn't media savvy, I get into all of this stuff, make my own videos, my own YouTube channel. I get on Twitter, and there's this little circle up at the top that I click on, and I go into this space, and there are these two wonderful women, Queen Amy and Queen Black, that are in there just chit-chatting with each other, and they welcome me with open arms, explain to me about Twitter, other platforms, and Queen Amy and I are still like best of friends. But without Queen Amy, I wouldn't have been on Spaces. I probably wouldn't have ventured back into Spaces. Being in Spaces, I've met a lot of fabulous people. And a lot of those fabulous people have introduced me to other fabulous people.
Yep.
Which leads me to Adam, who basically introduced me to Shadow Fox. Shadow Fox has now introduced me to people like Plametti, Eileen, other wonderful people. And now, here we are, Kato.
Yes. And, Kato, this is where like the rubber hits the road, right? Like we're doing the car thing, so we'll just keep it up, right? But it was so when actually on my side of the fence here, when we were in that space with Captain, and we were introduced, and you had let me know about your book. I literally went and I got it. It was like, oh my gosh, we've got to, speak. And when I was reading it, I actually reached out to you and really like about the first thing that I said to you was, oh my God, we're speaking the same language. It's like you're offering solutions and seeing things in a larger picture. And so am I. And in the book that my husband and I'm getting ready to have published, is that we are also offering the solutions. And it's so funny because, Paul, you're talking about the thermodynamics and the laws of energy. Well, there are so many laws. I mean, we have cosmic law, universal, spiritual, and natural laws. And it's like, oh my goodness, this is what, in my own forte, this is where I shine, is I'm bringing this information in. I have yet to specifically talk a lot of it with Spaces. However, this is really what brought us together. And then hence being in a space and meeting you, Kato. And we were speaking, you were actually speaking on some of the astrology, the aspect, and I happened to ask a question.
Yes. No, it's amazing. And with the story that you just shared, Paul, for instance, it's all going in a full circle because you said to me, you need to get on TikTok. You need to start posting more. You said to me exactly what Queen Amy, it's like come in a full circle. And I remember, it's amazing. I remember when Shadow Fox and I were in a space, and it's interesting because it's the same kind of as you, Paul. I saw these circles at the top, and I'm like, let me click on this. And you think about the circle, the circle of life, the mandala, the Urcha, it's fascinating. And I remember I was a space, there was lots of people. I was like, oh, should I talk? Should I not? And I just took the thing to like put my hand up and speak. And when Shadow Fox responded to me, I just remember hearing your voice and thinking, oh my gosh, what an honor that she's responding to what I just said. It really like affirmed, okay, I was on that right track. And it's really amazing, guys.
Yes, it truly is. And I know for right now, we are, in a sense, we're kind of reminiscing. We're trying to bring the people who are listening, like what is specifically going on. And I'm going to say it again, because really, when we start just in the very elemental way of when you're discussing what the charts are, it's all going to play out,
Yes.
because we have been impulse, and the only difference with all of us is that we took action. We like either click the hand, hey, I got a question, or I'd like to respond, or oh my god, can we just have a conversation, can we just have a private conversation, whatever that may be. All three of us stepped out, whether that comfort zone or whatever. And I really think it's very important that we, keep the eye on the ball here, because we each have our diverse passions, but in actuality, it really is the same passion.
That's
Yes.
right.
Now, I want to ask you something. I want to ask you something, because you see, I'm the atheist in the group, okay? But I'm a spiritual atheist, which people think that's an oxymoron. Usually I have to break down what atheism actually is and then what spirituality actually is.
Mm-hmm.
I want to ask you, does the number 122 mean anything? Does that have a relevancy in your life?
For me, particularly, no, not that I
Okay.
can think of.
Because it has a huge meaning to me, and this is why. My wife was born in 1961.
Mm.
She died at the age of 61 on January 22nd, 122. 61 plus 61, 122.
Wow.
Okay. It means something. What it means, I don't know, but it has relevancy to me. And someone that, again, I've always been the mathematician. I've always been a numbers guy, but I never believed in like numerology or anything like that. And now I see things differently, because, everything is just like, wow,
Yeah.
how everything is connected. And with her passing, I have new inspiration to do more things, to fight for people's rights and stuff like that. So it's just like that 122 is going to come into play somewhere. I don't know where, I don't know when, I don't know who, but that 122 is going to come into play. There's meaning to that.
Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, Kato. I was just, Paul. I'm really excited with what's going on in here. But has there been any, questions? Are there any responses? Anybody asking anything? Because
no, we have nobody in the chat right now.
Okay,
we have
because there's
people watching. We do have people watching, but
Hi,
nobody.
everyone. I didn't even know. I'm just like, maybe people will watch on replay.
And I must say, because there are people, just if anyone's listening, because I have the space open right now, because we're doing this show. I am not bringing anyone up for requests to speak at this point. If you do have a question, you can possibly put it down in the bottom and ask, and then we'll see if we can get to it. Because after the show, Kato and I will be on the spaces so that we can, answer anything if you like. So I just had to make a mention, because I am trying to pay attention here. So
good shout. I do want to say, so with the whole macabre, the car, and even Kato, my numerologist, who is also a mentor and a great friend, John, he was the one who actually linked that with my nickname Kato, and he is an exceptional numerologist. I can ask him about the numbers, and it's very interesting, because he, knows about astrology, but he's very, very, the numerology is his forte, his expertise. When he spoke to me about my numerology chart, it was so synergistic with my astrology chart, just a different way of kind of viewing it and interpreting it, but literally it's so connected. So I can definitely ask, and it's amazing to keep an eye out on these signs because like us meeting, age of Aquarius, being connected, this is all being in tune, intuition within, this force, this energy, our soul, our spirit within being in tune. And for anyone listening and who's live and stuff, the more you are in tune, the more these synchronicities come, and they're literally like little clues of the puzzle. It's amazing.
Yes, it truly is. And this is that, I mean, Paul, really, is it not just that every little key point that we can like pay attention to truly is representative of us stepping into the flow, right? And I mean, it truly is. And oh my gosh, I'm saying hi guys. Yeah, there's a few hi. So no, I'm
Paula
glad.
says hi, hello everyone, and D, the Truth Prevails, says happy to be here. Thank you, hello.
And Diana also is on Twitter, and she's saying hello, and Kato, she gives a special hello to you.
Oh, yeah.
And Joe D is here too. So I have to give a little shout out there.
Lots of fabulous people. Like I said, a lot of these people are from Twitter Spaces that we've met, and they're just fabulous people.
Yeah. So again, if you are on Spaces, when we get done with the show, we'll bring you up.
Yeah. No, I would like to know about the numerology and all that. So again, maybe this is the connect and why it's being brought up, and maybe there is, some reasoning to that. Maybe it holds to my chart because again, I just lost the one that I love, and that number has meaning to me. So
I do have Diana did ask a question, and she writes, she says, is it numerology in combination with synchronicity?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. No, it's really amazing. Sometimes I'll do something or I'll have a thought and I'll see the timer of even like the like downstairs where the electricity box is or something, and I'll see 333. And when I see things like this, I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, it's like an affirmation. But I do have to say, for like people who will listen, and I will talk about it a bit more in the next session with the astrology, but with these kind of subjects, you have to be grounded. And I love the quote, you can only ascend as deep as your roots are, because looking out for the numbers and checking on your phone is not how it works. You have to be in the flow, like this show, and that's what's really key, with even astrology, with numerology, with the signs, the synchronicities. You have to completely be in the flow and really be connected and in tune for it to actually have a meaning. If you're just like waiting for the numbers to come, it's like it doesn't work, guys. You have to have your feet rooted. We're on earth, and being on earth, we must root ourselves, before we, otherwise it's just kind of like going into delusion.
I think so. And again, this part where we're the age of Aquarius, where we're looking at that energy of finding that understanding, okay? And it could be anything from understanding someone else's culture, language, or even their own country. It matters not. How about understanding like the person sitting next to you, right? There is, I think that between this, whether we are looking at our own self-development in whatever that is, whether it's expansion of consciousness, understanding our own spirituality, or how can we portray ourselves in the world or be accepted, all of this plays a major component. And I think that when we step in, it's so funny because I had asked you, it was like right before the full moon rises. I don't know what it is, but are we like in retrograde? It was like, what is going on, right?
Yes.
And it's like, there's patterns. You can, if you really pay attention, you can see those patterns, you know?
Yeah.
And I think
Yes.
that it was so funny because I asked you, I says, what is with this, you know?
Right.
And by the way, Kato, I just have to put out there that I believe that Auntie Sarah may be listening.
Hi, Auntie Sarah. I was
Just
thinking
in
we have
case.
to mention it before
Yeah.
the time ends, for
It's a
sure.
little private thing here, but it's not private because she's my best friend and it's like my daughter, who is in spirit, is always over there, you know, hanging out. And so it's like, yeah, we're family. And so
Oh, family.
and
Yeah.
she had told me to make a mention to say hello, that you have an Auntie Sarah in the United States.
Oh,
So I
hello,
had to deliver that.
Auntie Sarah. Thank you for tuning in with us. You know, it's all connected. And just about the retrograde. So it was the Mercury retrograde, and just a synchronicity now. I did think, well, what a great day to do this recording because it's Wednesday, you know, Mercury day. So it's excellent for communication. And I don't know, like, was this done on purpose, Paul, or not? But I was like, that's amazing. And then I was thinking, thank goodness it's not the retrograde, because you know what's so interesting about the retrograde is the prefix re, you know, the Latin prefix. It's all about reassessing, reevaluating, you know, in so many different ways. And that's where things can become a little bit chaotic because it's calling for our attention with how we communicate, with how we look at the finer details when it's Mercury and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely, definitely. And I just wanted to add where a lot of people are like, well, numbers, numerology, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter what name we give to a number. This is still this, regardless of what we name it. And this equal this, regardless of what we name it.
Yeah.
And when you start looking at the breakdown of atoms, I mean, let's take water, 2 hydrogen, 1 oxygen. It cannot be water unless it's 2 hydrogen and 1 oxygen. That's just the way it is. So numbers play a part, whether we want to look at it by a name of something or however it is that we want to perceive numbers. There's meaning behind it because what, like the earth, there's one earth, but look at all of the different atoms that make a composite of the earth. There is a number there. And whether it's the breakdown of the silver and the minerals and everything that's associated with it, there's still numbers, and all these numbers make things, create things, bring things together. You got that free electron that comes in and adds to, and again, it's adding and subtracting and multiplying and dividing.
Yeah.
It's all mathematical. Life itself is mathematical. And these are the things when I was younger that would just drive me nuts, because my mind just starts roaming with all these numbers on how they're all connected and stuff like that. And I just, to me now more than ever, numbers have way more meaning.
That's right.
Yeah. Hey, Kate, so let me ask you a question. I know we're not going to get into like the actual, the natal chart specifically, but even when you're taking a look at the mathematical aspect, are there not degrees to that?
Yes.
When you're actually choreographing it out? I mean, because I'm saying that because I think it's like a dance.
Yes.
You know, it really is. It is that flow, that it there's a rhythm to it. And so when we really, doesn't matter what you were looking at, it is a mathematical mechanism across the board. And it's the same thing with laws. I mean, it really is.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, it's so interesting because when you just look at the basic geometry of the birth chart, you know, it's 360, 30 degrees per each sign. Every degree has a meaning and is related to a particular sign. So that's why the generalization of, you know, your sun sign, well, what degree is it at? You know, is it within the first 10 degrees, the second, the third? Because you'll have a different planetary ruler. It goes so intricate and deep, but you're right. It's all, and just so you know, I was always terrible at maths But when it comes to the natal chart, somehow it goes.
It goes. Okay. Now, does that degree actually mean like the time of birth, or the placement, like
Yes.
on the planet? Or
Yes.
is
So
it
yeah, so the time of birth is linked with the houses, and there's 12 houses, and 12
okay?
is really synchronistic, because even when we look at like the systems within the body, there's the main 12, you know, it goes
Yeah.
so deep. With the degrees, it's like if you're looking at 360 circle, every single degree, depending on where you're born, that degree has a particular effect on your sign.
Okay.
Fascinating.
And this is why it's like I'm sorry, I had to ask a couple
No,
of questions
cool.
because it's like we will be speaking about a little bit, you
I
know,
can't
but
wait.
yeah, and it's like just the synchronicities are phenomenal, and I just, you know, to me, because this is not where my major forte is, I know just enough to really, really get me in trouble. You know, I might know just enough to maybe ask a question, right? So, but you know, Kato, I do have to show you something. I don't know if you can see it. Wait a minute. If
Wow.
it is actually, oh, I can't get it right, but
There. We got it.
There.
Yes.
you got it. It's
Yep.
Wow.
tiger's eye.
Oh.
So I had to, yeah, it is tiger's eye, and
Beautiful.
yeah, I thought I'd wear that today.
Our
So it's the
meditation
first time.
skills.
Yep, it's the first time I've worn it. My husband has gotten it, but it does play a part into all the synchronicities. And I just think it was that energy of the tiger's eye, and so I wore it in honor of you.
Oh.
And then I also had worn this, which is a dragonfly.
Dragonfly.
Can you see it? Which
Wow.
is for my daughter. And so I'm bringing and connecting, you know, because technically it's kind of like you're both my daughters.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, she brought
Oh,
you into my life, and also me into yours, and vice versa with Paul. Paul, you're not left out. We were brought, you know.
Oh no, I know I'm not left out. And what's really funny is that you bring up the dragonfly and all that, is that we have, yes, Carl. I live miles away from a river, okay? And I live in a desert, and yet whenever I take my pup out for a walk, there's always a dragonfly around. Always a dragonfly.
Oh my goodness.
So that's just really, really bizarre. And it's not like I have 2 or 3 or 4 of them. It's always really weird because it's just like one little dragonfly that comes up and says hi. And then, of course, you've seen my TikTok videos with the birds.
Yes. That was incredible.
Every morning I walk out, and when I approach those power lines, those birds just come together. Now, of course, there's going to be people that insist that birds aren't real and that's the CIA watching me. They could be right, but
I love it.
I think it's probably more, you know, I think it's real birds, but I just find it so odd because it's pigeons, sparrows, finches, crows, ravens. It's like, wow.
Oh, and there is, you know, Paul, there is a lot within the messaging from which animals are coming forward. And Kato, even you and I have kind of spoken about that a little bit. So this is like, seriously, the intricacies are phenomenal. And it was just, I mean, what was it? One of the things I had, it was had to do with a rose, I believe.
You know, I was just going to say, talking about being in tune and the spirit animals, Shadow Fox and I were in a space for a full moon. And if I'm correct, it was the Capricorn full moon. And we spent the whole evening playing like music from our motherlands, our cultures. I stayed up after that all night. I posted it on Twitter. I kid you not. 4 a.m. I go downstairs and there's a fox there. And it was like peeking in, and this doesn't happen often. And I
took a picture of it.
I took a picture. Yeah, I posted it on Twitter. I said you couldn't make this up. Like, it's incredible.
Yep. This is, and so this is that part that we're trying to share with everyone today.
Mhm.
You know, and we're gonna all tie it together. But that was really amazing when the fox showed up.
Now, I haven't seen any foxes down here yet, but when I was living up in Northern California, I used to get a gray fox that would come by every once in a while. A gray fox. And it was just like, oh my God, so pretty.
Hey, Paul, can we
Yeah.
change that from gray to silver? The silver fox. Oh, come on.
I wish it was silver, but no, I'm sorry, it was gray. It was a very pretty gray.
Okay, I'll just remain, the one with the silver. So okay, all right.
What? Okay,
I can stand out here.
Kato,
Yep.
you were like, okay,
Yeah,
what?
so it's just amazing because only now I've just seen in the background of Shadow Foxes, it says believe. And this is what I mean
yeah.
about these. I didn't notice it before, I didn't see it, but it just caught my eye now. And everything we're talking about with the gray fox and me, the fox, and the dragonfly, like to just link everything together, and even my journey, like it's so much to do with that belief, belief in who you are, faith in something, and connecting to it. It's really, really amazing because even with my travels and my journeys, it didn't make much sense to people. People like, what's going on? How are you doing this? Why would you do this? Like, even astrology, why do you believe in this? Well, you know what? I believe in it, and it's taken me to such a great place now. So yeah, love you guys.
Oh my.
Yes.
And it when all three of our diverse passions, like Paul brings in that truly the equality
Yes.
and the solutions and honoring that humanitarian aspect, because we're all in this together, right? And so I have to give credit where credit is due. And if it weren't for Paul saying, hey, come on, let's do this. Because you know me, I don't necessarily like being in front of the camera. It's just me. But I'm here and overcoming some of these obstacles. And it was Paul that really stepped up to the plate to do this. And so I do have to give full honor to him at this time for doing so, because he is the one that is bringing people together. It's like I'm the bridger of worlds and he is the bridger of people. And again, I'm like, thank you, Paul, for being here for all of us and offering
You're welcome.
this.
Yeah.
So thank you. I do have to get that
Thank
on.
you so much.
My friend Carl, again, he likes to bring some things in, and he likes to make points. So I want you to hear this. 1, 2, 2 is 5. 5 means desire to explore new possibilities, freedom, curiosity, and change. And then he talks about 5 senses, and most mammals have 5 fingers and 5 toes. So
Love that.
bringing those things in, yes.
We have a guest.
Good one, Carl.
Lee.
Greetings, Lee.
Lee.
He just has to step in and say hello.
Carl
I
is a
stepped
real
in-
good. What?
Yeah, I stepped in to say I got to take the car down to get the tires changed, and Steven's going to take me. So now here I am sitting in a chair instead of being able to tell her that.
Hey, we were talking about the car.
Carl.
Right?
Yeah, I was just going to say.
But I just wanted to say Carl is a real good near dear friend, and he's been very supportive of me, and he's one of the kindest human beings you'll ever meet. So I can't wait one day for you to meet Carl. You're going to love Carl.
Oh,
Yeah, Shadow Fox knows Carl.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And, there's a few in the space too. We have Maruk and Matt is in here. So again, it's kind of like, we've had some coming in and out, and they're popping up in here too. So yeah, but we two Ox just had to say hello to everyone.
Yeah, hello. And I guess I'll say au revoir at the same time. I got business to take care of. All right. Be well.
Oh, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Bye.
Paul,
Sorry,
I want to
guys.
say thank you so much for hosting this amazing show. I was going to say space. It's not space, it's a show. You are an awesome host. You are really living into what your natal chart, what we've seen and discussed with the Leo rising, creating a platform for people to shine, being, you know, the real holder of that. So you're amazing. Thank you. And to Shadow Fox as well, thank you so much for being an amazing mentor and teacher for me and connecting me with Paul so we could be here together. It's really, really an honor for me.
Oh, and I can't wait until next week when we start really bringing all the connections together and why we're talking about any of this. I love it.
Before we close out the show, I would like to read a poem. Okay. And the title of the poem is title of my show, In the Moment.
Ooh.
The time is now for logical development, observing flux by motion of deviation. Voices heard are monumental in the moment. Sufferance, solitude, isolation, torment. Actions sourced procure evil premeditation. The time is now for logical development. Secure, conspire, dire perversion, supplement. Compromise the trending oval devastation. Voices heard are monumental in the moment. For peace, love, and kindness, forever implement an imprint within an emotional question. The time is now for logical development. The golden rule is a foundational cement and humankind's only way to restoration. Voices heard are monumental in the moment. Love thy neighbor without a malicious intent. Passion and compassion are not a new notion. The time is now for logical development. Voices heard are monumental in the moment.
Wow. That
was beautiful.
Awesome,
Thank you
Paul.
for sharing. The poet.
Thank you.
Remember I said the poet. And I had no clue that Paul wrote poetry, but it came up in our natal chart reading. So the poet.
Yes, yes. I have always had a love for poetry, and this type of poetry is called villanelle. It's got a specific, set on how you write it. And I did another one last night called The Effect, and I read it in Jay's space or Jay's The Alternative. So yes, I have poetry, and I think did I read for you the other day the Ode to My Wife?
Yeah, that was
beautiful.
Yes. So yes, I have some dark ones, of course. When we when we go next week, I will read some of my dark poetry because it's about inner pain and stuff like that, things that I've gone through. And I think that'll play well into going over the charts.
Yes. Some of it, because it is part of what makes us who we are. Truly. Yeah.
It is. It is. Yes. So anyways, any last thoughts before we close this out?
Oh, I just have to say to everyone who's, listened, tuned in, or being on the spaces or in any part of this broadcast, thank you for sharing your time and listening. And again, it's like, Kato, thank you. I know we're going to bring this all together, and I just can't wait until like next week because it's going to be the wrap up of it. And I really am excited about it. So everyone, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being here. We are going to continue to leave the Twitter space open. So Kato will be joining me here. And so hang on, guys. Kato will be here and she can answer some questions.
All right. Any last word?
Please join us over there also, okay?
Yep.
Yes.
Kato, any last thoughts?
Just thank you so much to everyone listening. And I'm greatly looking forward to like really diving in deep with the astrology. And thank you for giving me a safe space to kind of share my story, who I am, and what took me to the whole astrology side of things. So thank you so much, everyone, and to you both.
My pleasure. Now, next week, everybody, Same time, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, Wednesday. Let's see, today's the 12th, so that'll be the 19th, Wednesday the 19th. Kato is going to be here. Shadow Fox is going to be here, and we're going to go over the Natal charts, and it's going to be in depth, and it's going to be exciting. I can't wait to share this. So until then, everyone, remember, be kind, be happy, and may good things come your way. Thank you.